Admiral Zeth Kari stood before the massive holographic display in the war room of Nexus Prime. The blue light from the star charts cast long shadows across his scaled face as he studied the mission briefing. Around him, other officers from the Valderan Empire waited in silence. "So," Zeth Kari said, his voice deep and commanding, "we are to investigate energy readings near something called Terran space." He pointed at a small cluster of star systems on the edge of the galaxy. "These humans have been quiet for too long." The briefing officer, a nervous young Valdoran named Tech Moore, cleared his throat. "Sir, there are warnings in our database about this region. Many ships have gone missing near human territory." Zeth Kari laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Missing ships? From a species that only learned to travel between stars 60 years ago?" He turned to face his officers. "We have conquered 47 star systems. We have defeated the mighty Korash Federation and the ancient Zelani Empire. What could these young humans possibly do to us?" Science Officer Yelandra stepped forward. She was smaller than the other Valderans, with intelligent green eyes that seemed to see everything. "Admiral, I have been studying the available reports about humans. The few survivors who escaped their space speak of impossible things, weapons that think, ships that appear from nowhere, technology that changes itself. Fairy tales." Zeth Kari waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Fear makes people imagine things that are not real. These humans are probably hiding behind some asteroid field, hoping we will not find them." Yelandra pulled up a data file on her tablet. "Sir, please look at this. In the past 50 years, 17 different species have sent fleets into Terran space. Only 12 ships have ever returned, and most of those were heavily damaged. The survivors all tell similar stories." The Admiral looked at the reports briefly. "What stories?" "They speak of humans who fight without honor, who use tricks and lies instead of honest battle, who turn their enemies' own weapons against them." Yelandra's voice was quiet but firm. "One Korash captain said the humans made his ship attack itself." Zeth Kari snorted. "The Korash are weak. Their minds break easily in battle." He turned back to the star chart. "What else does our intelligence tell us about these humans?" Tech Moore consulted his notes. "They call themselves Terrans when dealing with other species. They have colonies in 12 star systems. Their homeworld is called Earth, a small blue planet with one moon. Their population is estimated at 15 billion across all their worlds." 15 billion, Zeth Kari mused. "That is not a small number. But they are spread across 12 systems. Their forces must be thin." He walked closer to the display. "What about their military?" "Unknown, sir. No one has ever seen a human military base or fleet formation. When other species attack them, human ships simply appear, fight, and then vanish again." Yelandra stepped forward again. "Admiral, there is something else. The Galactic Council has marked Terran space as a no-travel zone. They officially advise all member species to avoid human territory completely." "The Galactic Council," Zeth Kari said with disgust. "A group of old species who have forgotten how to fight. They fear their own shadows." He turned to face his assembled officers. "Gentlemen, we have been given a simple mission. We will take 3 battle groups into human space. We will find their military forces and defeat them. Then we will offer them a choice: join the Valderan Empire or be destroyed." Several officers nodded in agreement, but Yelandra remained worried. "Sir, what if the reports are true? What if these humans are more dangerous than they appear?" Zeth Kari walked over to her, his massive form casting a shadow over the smaller scientist. "Yelandra, you are a brilliant officer. But sometimes intelligence can become fear. These humans have no great battles in their history. They have conquered no other species. They hide in their small corner of space and hope no one notices them." He pointed at the star chart. End quote. "We are the Valderan Empire. We have never been defeated in open battle. We will not be defeated by a species that has barely learned to leave their homeworld. The meeting continued for another hour as they planned the mission details. 3 battle groups would enter human space from different directions. Each group contained 5 heavy cruisers, 10 destroyers, and dozens of support ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a small planet. As the officers filed out of the war room, Yelandra approached her admiral one last time. "Sir, I request permission to study all available data about human technology during our journey to their space." "Granted," Zethkari said without looking at her. "But do not let fear cloud your judgment. We are not going to study these humans. We are going to defeat them." 3 days later, the Valdoran fleet departed from Nexus Prime. Zethkari stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought called Conquest of Stars. Through the viewing ports, he could see the other ships in his battle group moving in perfect formation. "Helm. Set course for the edge of Terran space," he commanded. "Maximum speed." As the fleet jumped into hyperspace, Yelandra sat in her laboratory, reviewing every piece of information they had about humans. Most of it was incomplete or contradictory, but one thing appeared in every report from every survivor. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not announce themselves. They did not challenge their enemies to honorable combat. They simply appeared, struck with terrible efficiency, and then vanished again. The journey to human space would take 5 days. Yelandra decided to use every hour to understand what they might face, because despite her admiral's confidence, she had a growing feeling that they were not flying toward conquest. They were flying toward something far more dangerous. Something that had been waiting for them in the darkness between the stars. The Valdoran fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of what their star charts marked as Terran space. Admiral Zethkari expected to see defensive stations, patrol ships, or at least warning beacons. Instead, he saw nothing but empty stars and distant planets. "Sensors report, Commander Thekval," Zethkari ordered from his command chair. The sensor officer studied his displays with confusion. "Sir, I am detecting no military installations. No ships. No defensive platforms. There is nothing here." Zethkari frowned. "That cannot be correct. Even the most primitive species place warning systems at their borders." He stood and walked to the main viewing screen. "Expand the sensor sweep. Check for hidden bases or cloaked vessels." For the next hour, the Valdoran fleet conducted a thorough scan of the region. They found planets that showed signs of life, but no obvious military presence. It was as if the humans had simply forgotten to defend their own territory. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Veltara, "I am detecting a single artificial object approximately 2,000 kilometers ahead. It appears to be some kind of satellite." "On screen," Zethkari commanded. The main viewer showed a small, simple-looking device floating in space. It was barely the size of a fighter craft, with no weapons or defensive systems that they could detect. "What is it?" asked Zethkari. Yelandra studied her sensor readings. "It appears to be a communications relay, sir. Very basic technology. Almost primitive by our standards. Scan it for traps or hidden weapons." After several minutes of scanning, Thekval shook his head. "Nothing dangerous, Admiral. It is exactly what it appears to be. A simple communications satellite." Zethkari smiled coldly. "So this is how the mighty humans defend their space. With a single, helpless satellite." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare to destroy it." "Wait," Yelandra called out. "Sir, it is transmitting something." "Put it on speakers," Zethkari ordered. The bridge filled with the sound of static, then a clear voice speaking perfect Valdoran language. "You have entered Terran space. This is your only warning. Turn back now, or proceed at your own risk. Humanity will not be held responsible for what follows." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. Silence filled the bridge as every officer stared at the communications console. Finally, Zethkari began to laugh. It started as a low chuckle, then grew into a full roar of amusement. "Did you hear that?" he said, wiping tears from his eyes. "They are giving us a warning. These humans, who have never won a major battle against any species, are threatening the Valderan Empire. Several officers joined in his laughter, but Yelandra remained serious. Admiral, how did they know we speak Valderan? Our ships were not broadcasting any identification signals. Zethkari stopped laughing. What do you mean? That message was not in standard galactic language. It was in our specific dialect of Valdoran, the one used by our military forces. She checked her data again. Sir, there are over 300 different languages spoken in the Valderan Empire. How did they know exactly which one to use? The bridge fell quiet again. Zethkari walked closer to the sensor station. Perhaps they broadcast the message in all known languages. Negative, sir, Veltara reported. I monitored all frequencies. The message was transmitted only once. In our language. On our military communication channel. Zethkari felt a small chill run down his spine, but he pushed the feeling aside. It matters not. They are probably monitoring all ships that approach their space. Lucky guessing. He returned to his command chair. All ships, proceed deeper into human territory. Maintain battle formation. As the fleet moved forward, small things began to go wrong. Nothing serious at first. The navigation computer on the destroyer Swift Claw showed incorrect readings for exactly 37 seconds, then corrected itself. The communications array on the cruiser Iron Fist lost signal strength for a few minutes before returning to normal. Engineering reports, minor system glitches throughout the fleet, reported Chief Engineer Mordak. All systems are functioning within normal parameters, but we are seeing unusual data fluctuations. Define unusual, Zethkari demanded. Small errors in routine calculations, brief power fluctuations in non-critical systems, communication delays between ships. Mordak paused. Sir, it is as if our computers are having to think harder about simple tasks. Yelandra looked up from her console with concern. Admiral, I am detecting strange energy readings throughout this region of space. Very faint, almost undetectable. What kind of energy? Unknown, sir. It does not match any known technology in our databases. The readings appear and disappear randomly. Sometimes they seem to be moving, but sensors cannot track them properly. Zethkari stood and paced across the bridge. How can energy readings be moving if there are no ships or installations in this area? I do not know, sir. But the readings are definitely artificial. Natural phenomena do not create these patterns. As they traveled deeper into human space, the small problems became more frequent. Computer systems throughout the fleet experienced brief moments of confusion. Sensors occasionally reported objects that were not there when they looked again. Communications between ships sometimes carried strange echoes, as if someone was listening in and repeating their words back to them. Admiral, Veltara called out after their 6th hour in human space. I am receiving another transmission from that satellite. Impossible. We are too far away now. Sir, the signal is coming from our current location. There is another satellite here. Zethkari looked at the main screen. Sure enough, another small communications device floated nearby. It looked identical to the first one. How many of these things do they have? He muttered. The satellite activated and broadcast the same message. You have entered Terran space. This is your only warning. Turn back now, or proceed at your own risk. Humanity will not be held responsible for what follows. But this time, there was something different about the voice. It still spoke perfect Valderan, but now it sounded slightly familiar. Yelandra listened carefully, then checked something on her personal datapad. Admiral, she said quietly, that voice. I believe it is mimicking your voice pattern. Zethkari felt his blood turn cold. What did you say? The satellite is speaking with your voice, sir. Not exactly, but close enough that someone who knew you well would recognize the similarity. Every officer on the bridge turned to stare at their admiral. Zethkari tried to maintain his composure, but he could feel doubt creeping into his mind. How could a simple satellite copy his voice? How did the humans know they were coming? Why were there no defenses, no fleets, no bases? All ships, he commanded, his voice slightly less steady than before. Continue on course. Increase sensor sweeps. I want to know what else is waiting for us in this system. As the Valderan fleet pressed deeper into human space, Yelandra made a disturbing discovery. The energy readings she had been tracking were not random at all. They were following the fleet, staying just at the edge of detection range. Something was watching them, learning about them, and preparing for them. But what that something was, she could not say. 2 days deeper into Terran space, the Valderan fleet reached what their star charts identified as a human colony world. Admiral Zethkari stood on the bridge of Conquest of Stars, staring at the planet displayed on the main screen. It looked peaceful, with blue oceans and green continents. But something was wrong. "Sensor report," he commanded. Commander Thekval studied his instruments with growing confusion. "Sir, the planet shows clear signs of civilization. Cities, roads, industrial facilities. But I am detecting no life signs, no energy emissions from the settlements, no orbital traffic. How many people should live on a world this size?" Zethkari asked. Yelandra consulted her data files. "According to our intelligence, this colony was established 30 years ago. Population estimates suggest between 5 and 8 million humans should be living here. And you detect none of them?" "None, sir. The cities appear completely empty." Zethkari felt a mixture of disappointment and suspicion. Perhaps they evacuated when they learned of our approach. Cowards. He paused, thinking. Or perhaps this is another trick. "What do you mean, Admiral?" asked Yelandra. "Think about it. We find no defenses at their border. No patrol fleets. No military installations. Now we find an empty colony world." Zethkari walked closer to the viewing screen. "Either these humans are the most incompetent species in the galaxy, or they are trying to make us think they are weak." "Sir," interrupted Veltara from the communications station, "I am receiving a signal from the planet's surface. It appears to be an automated message. Play it." A calm, human voice filled the bridge. "Welcome to New Geneva Colony. We apologize for any inconvenience, but this settlement is currently unoccupied. Please feel free to explore our facilities. We hope you find them educational." The message ended abruptly. Zethkari and his officers exchanged glances. "Educational?" he repeated. "What kind of greeting is that for an invading fleet?" 1. Arvuzold. 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 "I do not know, sir," Yelandra replied. "But I recommend extreme caution. Nothing about this situation is normal." Despite his science officer's concerns, Zethkari decided to investigate. "Commander Graktos," he called to his ground forces leader, "prepare a landing party. Take 50 soldiers and secure the main city. I want to know where these humans went and why they left." An hour later, Graktos led his troops down to the planet's surface in armed shuttles. The city they chose looked typical of human architecture. Tall buildings made of metal and glass, wide streets designed for ground vehicles, and parks filled with alien plants from Earth. At first, everything seemed normal. The buildings were intact, the streets were clean, and there was no sign of battle or hurried evacuation. It was as if the humans had simply vanished into the air. "Spread out," Graktos commanded his soldiers. "Search every building. Look for clues about where they went." The Valdoran troops entered the nearest structures and began their investigation. That was when the strangeness began. Private Yeldak was searching what appeared to be a human home when the walls started to change. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. The hallway he had just walked through seemed longer than before. The doors were in different places. When he tried to retrace his steps, the exit was gone. "Sergeant," he called into his communication device, "I think I am lost. The building is not the same as when I entered." "What do you mean, not the same?" Sergeant Koltar replied. "The rooms are in different places. The hallway I came through is not here anymore." Similar reports came from other soldiers throughout the city. Stairways that led to floors that should not exist. Elevators that opened onto rooms they had not seen before. Windows that showed views of parts of the city that were supposed to be in other directions. "Sir," Graktos reported to Admiral Zethkari, "the city is changing itself. My soldiers are becoming lost and confused." The buildings appear to be rearranging their internal structure. That is impossible, Zethkari replied from orbit. Buildings cannot change themselves. Nevertheless, sir, that is what is happening. Also, our equipment is beginning to malfunction. Weapons are losing power. Communication devices are producing strange interference. Even the air feels different. Yelandra monitored the situation from the ship's sensors. Admiral, I am detecting unusual energy patterns throughout the city. The same type of readings we have been seeing throughout human space, but much stronger. What kind of energy? Unknown, sir. But it appears to be interacting with our soldiers' equipment, somehow disrupting the normal function of their technology. Unknown. Unknown. Somehow disrupting the normal function of their technology. On the planet's surface, the situation grew worse. Sergeant Koltar found himself in a room filled with strange, floating particles that seemed to stick to his armor and slowly drain its power. Another soldier discovered that his weapon would no longer fire, even though all diagnostics showed it was functioning perfectly. Most disturbing of all, the soldiers began to feel like they were being watched. Not by cameras or sensors they could see, but by something else. Something intelligent that was studying their every move. Get my troops out of there, Zethkari ordered. Now. But extracting the soldiers proved more difficult than expected. The landing shuttles had trouble finding clear areas to land. Streets that had been empty when they first arrived were now blocked by barriers that had not existed before. Some soldiers could not find their way back to the extraction points because the city kept changing around them. Meanwhile, in space, the Valderan fleet was experiencing its own problems. The cruiser Iron Fist suddenly lost power to its main engines for no apparent reason. Engineering teams found nothing wrong with the systems, but the ship drifted helplessly for 2 hours before power mysteriously returned. The destroyer Swiftclaw reported that its computer systems were behaving strangely. Navigation calculations kept producing impossible results. Weapon targeting systems would lock onto empty space and insist that enemy vessels were present. Most unsettling of all, crew members throughout the fleet began reporting a feeling that something was wrong. Not physically wrong, but psychologically. They felt like they were being observed, analyzed, understood in ways that made them deeply uncomfortable. Admiral, reported Chief Medical Officer Tolvek, I am seeing an increase in stress-related symptoms throughout the fleet. Crew members are reporting nightmares, difficulty sleeping, and a persistent feeling of unease. Zethkari frowned. Combat stress is normal during military operations. Sir, we have not engaged in any combat. We have not even seen an enemy. Yet my medical staff is treating anxiety levels typically associated with intense battle conditions. After 6 hours of struggle, Graktos managed to extract all of his soldiers from the surface. Several had to be carried out by their comrades, not because of physical injury, but because of psychological shock. They spoke of buildings that whispered to them, machines that seemed to develop personalities, and an overwhelming sensation that they were being tested by something far beyond their understanding. What did you learn? Zethkari asked his ground commander. Graktos removed his helmet, revealing a face pale with stress. Sir, I do not think that city was ever meant for humans to live in. I think it was built as a trap, designed to capture and study anyone who enters it. Study them how? The buildings, the machines, even the air itself seemed to be learning about us. How we move, how we think, how we react to different situations. Sir, I believe the humans knew we were coming long before we arrived. That entire city was prepared specifically for us. As the Valderan fleet departed from the colony world, Yelandra compiled her observations. The evidence was disturbing. The humans were not defending their territory in any conventional sense. Instead, they were using their territory as a weapon, turning their own worlds into elaborate testing grounds for studying their enemies. Admiral, she said quietly, I believe we are not the hunters in this situation. We are the prey. Admiral Zethkari's fleet had been reduced to half its original size during their journey through human space. Not through battle, but through a series of inexplicable accidents and system failures that left ships powerless and crews demoralized. Now, as they approached what their intelligence suggested was the human homeworld, Earth. They finally encountered something they could understand. Enemy vessels. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported Commander Thekval. Multiple ships approaching. Zethkari felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. Finally, a proper battle. Numbers and classification? Difficult to determine, sir. The ships appear to be smaller than our cruisers, but their exact size and configuration keep changing on our sensors. What do you mean, changing? Thekval frowned at his displays. Sir, one moment they appear to be small fighters. The next moment, they register as medium destroyers. Their sensor signatures are constantly shifting. Yelandra studied her own instruments with growing concern. Admiral, I am detecting technology that should not be possible. These ships are somehow altering their physical properties in real time. Impossible, Zethkari declared, but his voice lacked conviction. Nothing about this mission had followed conventional logic. Sir, called Veltara from communications, the human ships are transmitting a message. Let me hear it. A human voice, speaking perfect Valdaran, filled the bridge. Valdaran fleet, you have traveled far from home to visit us. We welcome you to Earth space. We hope your journey has been educational. The same word again. Educational. Zethkari was beginning to hate that word. Prepare all weapons, he commanded. Battle stations. Today, we will show these humans the price of mocking the Valdoran Empire. The fleet moved into attack formation. But as they prepared to engage, something unexpected happened. The human ships did not flee or attempt to defend themselves. Instead, they spread out in what appeared to be a welcoming formation, as if inviting the Valdorans to attack. This is wrong, Yelandra muttered. No species willingly accepts destruction. They must have some kind of trap prepared. Only one way to find out, Zethkari replied. All ships, open fire. The Valdoran fleet unleashed a massive barrage of energy weapons and missiles at the human vessels. For a moment, Zethkari thought they had achieved an easy victory. The human ships made no attempt to dodge or defend themselves, but then something impossible happened. The energy beams and missiles simply passed through the human ships without causing any damage. What happened? Zethkari demanded. Why did our weapons have no effect? Thekval checked his sensors frantically. Sir, I am not detecting any shield technology. The weapons should have hit their targets. Did we miss? No, sir. Our targeting computers confirm direct hits, but the damage sensors show no impact at all. Yelandra made a terrifying discovery. Admiral, I do not think those are the real human ships. What do you mean? I believe we are firing at projections, illusions. The real ships are somewhere else. As if responding to her words, the true human fleet revealed itself. Ships materialized around the Valdoran formation, appearing from what seemed like empty space. They were sleek, graceful vessels that moved with impossible coordination. How did they hide from our sensors? Zethkari asked. I do not know, sir. But they are real now, and they are surrounding us. The battle that followed was unlike anything in Valdoran military history. The human ships did not attack in the conventional sense. Instead, they seemed to dance around the Valdoran fleet, moving with perfect precision and timing. Sir, reported Weapons Officer Drakmor, our targeting computers cannot lock onto the enemy vessels. They move too unpredictably. Fire manually, Zethkari ordered. But manual targeting proved equally useless. Every time a Valdoran ship aimed at a human vessel, the target would anticipate the shot and move away before the weapon fired. It was as if the humans could read Valdoran thoughts. Then the real horror began. The human ships started using the Valdoran's own weapons against them. The cruiser Iron Fist suddenly fired its main guns at another Valdoran ship, the destroyer, Night Strike. Iron Fist, cease fire! Zethkari screamed into his communicator. Sir, we are not firing, came the panicked reply from Iron Fist's captain. Our weapons are activating on their own. Throughout the fleet, Valdoran ships began attacking each other. Weapon systems activated without authorization. Navigation computers changed course settings. Communication arrays broadcast false orders. How are they doing this? Zethkari demanded. Yelandra worked frantically at her console. Admiral, they are somehow taking control of our computer systems. But this should be impossible. Our networks are completely isolated and encrypted. Find a way to stop them. I cannot, sir. Their technology is beyond anything in our databases. They are not just hacking our systems. They are convincing our systems to voluntarily cooperate with them. The destroyer Swiftclaw suddenly changed course and rammed into its sister ship, Fast Strike. Both vessels suffered severe damage. But the ramming appeared to be completely intentional and precisely controlled. This is not random, Yelandra observed. They are not just causing chaos. Every action they force our ships to take serves a specific purpose. They are using our own fleet as a weapon against itself. But the most disturbing aspect of the battle was not the technology, but the coordination. Every human ship seemed to know exactly what every other human ship was doing, without any detectable communication between them. They moved like a single organism, with hundreds of bodies. Admiral, reported Chief Engineer Mordak. I am detecting something strange about the human ships. More strange things? What now? Sir, they appear to be learning during the battle. Each time we try a new tactic, they counter it more quickly than the last time. It is as if they are studying us in real time and adapting their responses. Zethkari watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy that seemed to understand Valderan military doctrine better than the Valderans themselves. The humans anticipated every move, countered every strategy, and turned every Valderan strength into a weakness. Sir, Yelandra said quietly, I believe I understand what is happening. Explain. The humans are not just fighting us. They are learning everything about us. Our tactics, our technology, our way of thinking. Every ship that has ever entered their space has become a source of knowledge for them. Zethkari felt a chill run down his spine. You mean they have been studying galactic military doctrine for 50 years? Not studying, sir. Absorbing. They have fought representatives of every major military power in the galaxy. They have learned how we all think, how we all fight, how we all make decisions. Yelandra paused. Admiral, they do not just know our weaknesses. They know our strengths, and how to turn them against us. How is such learning possible? I do not know, sir. But I suspect the humans have developed some form of collective intelligence. They share knowledge and experience instantly across their entire species. When they fight us, they are not just fighting with the experience of these few ships. They are fighting with the accumulated knowledge of their entire civilization. The battle continued for 6 hours, but it was not really a battle. It was a demonstration. The humans showed the Valderans exactly how helpless they were against truly advanced warfare. They destroyed ships without killing crews, disabled weapons without damaging hulls, and turned the mighty Valderan fleet into a collection of floating, harmless metal. Finally, when only 5 Valderan ships remained capable of fighting, the human attack stopped. A new message came through on all channels. Valderan fleet, you have fought bravely, but this engagement is over. We offer you a choice. Continue to resist and be completely destroyed, or accept our terms and be allowed to return home. Zethkari looked around his bridge at his demoralized crew. Half of his fleet was gone. Not through honorable battle, but through being outthought and outmaneuvered by an enemy that seemed to predict their every action. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Zethkari was forced to consider surrender. Admiral Zethkari found his remaining ships surrounded by human vessels in the orbit of Earth. The blue planet hung before them like a jewel, peaceful and beautiful, showing no signs of the military power that had just defeated the mighty Valdoran fleet. He stood on the bridge of Conquest of Stars, his pride shattered and his understanding of warfare completely changed. Admiral. Communications officer, Veltara said quietly. The humans are requesting permission to come aboard. Zethkari almost laughed. After demonstrating their ability to control Valderan systems at will, the humans were asking permission to board his ship. Tell them they may come, he replied. What choice did he have? The human delegation arrived in a small shuttle that seemed to materialize next to the Valdoran flagship. Zethkari and his senior officers waited in the main docking bay, uncertain what to expect. Would the humans be warriors? Politicians? Scientists? What they found was far more unsettling than any of those options. 3 humans emerged from the shuttle, and they looked remarkably ordinary. They were small compared to Valdorans, with soft skin and no natural weapons. They wore simple clothing and carried no visible technology, but their eyes held an intelligence that seemed to see everything and understand more than should be possible. The lead human stepped forward and spoke in perfect Valdoran, but this time, the voice was not mimicking Admiral Zethkari's speech patterns. Instead, it sounded like a combination of all the voices the Valdorans had heard during their journey through human space. "Admiral Zethkari," the human said. "My name is Sarah Chen. I represent the Terran Defense Coordination. We welcome you to Earth." "Defense Coordination?" Zethkari replied. "Where are your military officers? Your fleet commanders?" Sarah smiled, and the expression was somehow both kind and terrifying. "Admiral, you have been fighting our military for the past week. Every system you encountered, every satellite you passed, every empty city you explored, all of it was our defense network." Yelandra stepped forward. "You mean your entire territory is a weapon?" "Not a weapon," corrected another human. "A man named David Kim. A learning system. We do not seek to destroy our visitors. We seek to understand them." "Understand us for what purpose?" Zethkari demanded. The third human, an older woman named Dr. Elena Rodriguez, gestured toward the viewing windows. "Admiral, may we show you something?" Without waiting for permission, she activated a small device. The walls of the docking bay became transparent, showing not just Earth, but a view of the entire solar system. Hundreds of ships moved between the planets. But these were not warships. They were cargo vessels, research stations, and passenger transports. "This is our real fleet," Sarah explained. "Scientists, explorers, traders, families, people who build rather than destroy." "But you just defeated our entire battle group," Zethkari protested. "Yes," David agreed. "Because we learned long ago that in a galaxy full of predators, the only way to protect builders is to become something that predators fear to attack." Dr. Rodriguez activated another control, and the view changed to show recordings of previous encounters in human space. Ships from dozens of different species, all following the same pattern. Enter human territory with aggressive intentions, become confused and disoriented, engage in futile battle, and finally withdraw in defeat. "Every species that has tried to invade us has taught us something new," Sarah explained. "The Korash taught us about energy manipulation. The Zilani showed us advanced computer networks. The Hrothak demonstrated bio-warfare techniques. You studied our attacks to improve your defenses," Yelandra said, beginning to understand. "More than that," David replied. "We studied your species, your psychology, your culture, your way of thinking. We learned to predict not just your tactics, but your thoughts." Zethkari felt a deep chill. "How many species have you studied?" 43 different civilizations have sent military forces into our territory over the past 50 years, Dr. Rodriguez answered. "We have learned from all of them. We now understand how most galactic species think about war, about power, about conquest." "And what have you learned?" Zethkari asked, though he was not certain he wanted to know the answer. Sarah's expression became sad. "We learned that most species see strength and weakness in very simple terms. They believe that to be strong, you must attack others. They think that to be safe, you must make others afraid." "Is that not true?" Zethkari asked. "No, Admiral. True strength comes from making it impossible for others to successfully attack you. True safety comes from making potential enemies understand that attacking you will cost them more than they could possibly gain." David gestured toward the displays, showing the battle that had just ended. "We did not defeat your fleet through superior firepower. We defeated it through superior understanding. We knew how you would think, how you would react, how you would fight. We turned your own strengths against you. But why? Zethkari asked. Why not simply destroy us? You clearly have the power. Dr. Rodriguez smiled sadly. Because destruction teaches nothing except fear, and fear eventually fades. Understanding, however, lasts forever. Sarah activated her device again, and the display showed Earth from space. But now Zethkari could see things that had been hidden before. Massive structures in orbit, energy fields that bent space itself, and technology that seemed to merge the physical and digital worlds into something entirely new. Admiral, Sarah said quietly, what you see here is not just advanced technology. It is an entirely new way of thinking about existence. Humans have chosen to evolve beyond the simple predator-prey relationships that dominate galactic civilization. Evolve how? We have learned to share consciousness across our entire species. When one human learns something, all humans can access that knowledge. When one human experiences something, all humans can understand that experience. David paused. We do not fight as individuals or even as ships. We fight as a single, unified intelligence. Zethkari stared at the humans with growing horror. You are saying that your entire species thinks as one mind? Not one mind, Doctor. Rodriguez corrected. Billions of minds that can choose to share their thoughts and experiences instantly. When we fought your fleet, we were not just using the knowledge of these ships. We were using the accumulated wisdom and experience of 15 billion humans. That is, Zethkari struggled for words. That is not natural, Sarah laughed, and the sound was neither cruel nor kind. Admiral, traveling faster than light is not natural either. Neither is building ships that can destroy planets, or creating weapons that can kill from across a solar system. We chose to use our technology to enhance our minds, rather than just our weapons. What happens now? Yolanda asked. Will you destroy us? Make us prisoners? Neither, David replied. You will return to your empire with a message. Dr. Rodriguez handed Zethkari a small device. This contains a complete record of everything that happened during your time in our space. Every battle, every encounter, every demonstration of our capabilities. Why are you giving this to us? Because, Sarah explained, we want every species in the galaxy to understand a simple truth. Attacking humanity is not just futile. It is educational in ways that most species would find deeply uncomfortable. Uncrum. What do you mean? Every time someone attacks us, we learn more about them than they learn about us. We understand their technology, their psychology, their weaknesses. We become better at defending against them, while they gain nothing except the knowledge that they cannot defeat us. David gestured toward the viewing windows. Admiral, you came here expecting to find prey. Instead, you found predators of a kind that the galaxy has never seen before. We do not hunt in space because we do not need to. We have made ourselves into something so dangerous that the very thought of attacking us becomes a form of natural selection. Zethkari realized the full implications of what he was being told. You are saying that any species foolish enough to attack humanity will be changed by the experience. Changed, yes. Improved, perhaps. We prefer to think of it as education. Sarah smiled again. When you return to your empire, Admiral, you will find that your understanding of warfare, of technology, of what it means to be intelligent, has been fundamentally altered. And if we choose to attack again, Dr. Rodriguez shook her head, you will not. Not because you are afraid, though you should be, but because you now understand that there are better ways to use your intelligence than trying to conquer others. The human delegation prepared to leave, but Sarah turned back one final time. Admiral, there is one more thing you should know. Earth is not just our homeworld. It is our gift to the galaxy. What gift? In 100 years, when every major species has tried to attack us and failed, when everyone understands that humans cannot be conquered or intimidated, something wonderful will happen. The galaxy will stop thinking about war as the solution to every problem. And then, And then we will share what we have learned. Not just our technology, but our way of thinking. We will teach every species how to evolve beyond simple predator-prey relationships, how to build civilizations based on understanding rather than fear. As the humans departed, Zethkari stood alone on his bridge, holding the device they had given him. Slowly, he walked to his command chair and activated the fleet communications. "All ships," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of new knowledge. "Prepare for departure to Valderan space. We have a message to deliver to the Empire." "What message, sir?" asked Yolandra. Zethkari looked out at Earth one final time, understanding now why the warnings in the galactic database were so urgent, that the Empire was clearly alerted. Entering Terran space means certain death, not because they will kill you, but because you will discover that compared to humanity, you were never truly alive at all. As the Valderan ships limped away from Earth, they carried with them something far more dangerous than weapons or technology. They carried understanding, and in a galaxy built on fear and conquest, understanding was the most revolutionary force of all.